It is November 23rd, 2021. Welcome to The Daily Rob, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff that helps us in the algorithm. And you can always listen to us on all major podcast platforms. Now, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Rob Smith.
Hello, Stu.
Hey.
I've been getting ready for Thanksgiving all day today. I went out and shot a wild turkey with a slingshot. You know, I like to make it a little bit more daring and a little tougher, Stu. I don't like to use shotguns or pistols. Then I had to chase it down and wring its neck. Been baking pumpkin pies. I'm getting there, Stu.
Right on. Quite impressive.
Well, I'm an impressive guy, so they say.
Yeah. So what stories are you looking at today?
Well, Stu, about the only story there is this nutcase in Wisconsin who ran over everybody. Have you ever been to Wisconsin, Stu?
I don't know if I have, to be honest with you.
I have. When we were little, Mom and Dad took us to Lake Geneva, which was a ritzy place. They had friends who had a house there. They were Chicago industrialists. And Lake Geneva had a Playboy Club. And I'm about 9 or 10. Dad wants to go see the Playboy Club, and they wouldn't let him in because I was in the car.
Damn. But Waukesha seems to be a fairly small place. It has a population of around 70,000. So about the size of Lynchburg here in Virginia, twice the size of Charlottesville. And whenever I see a word that I don't know the etymology of, I'm curious about it. So Waukesha is a derivative of some of the languages that shoot off of Algonquin, and it means fox. But there's also another tradition that claims that Waukesha was the name of one of the chiefs in that area at one time. So
it's funny how nobody knows the name of so many towns, and like you got the Powhite Expressway here, and people say, well, it's because of that's where the poor whites live. And then some people say, oh no, that's where the Powhite Indians. Where I grew up in Warsaw, people said that there was a guy on a horse, and the horse's name was Saw. And when he got to town, he said, whoa, Saw.
That's funny. I like that. But yeah, Darrell Brooks is the topic of conversation going on right now. And he appears to be a career criminal. Now, when I see marijuana charges, when I see gun charges, I don't really focus on that. I think those are things people shouldn't even be convicted on. And I think those are violations of someone's personal rights. However, in 1999, he had a charge for what they call in Wisconsin substantial battery. And so that is a felony. And
that means he beat the hell out of somebody.
Yes. And
my guess is it was a woman.
Yeah, I couldn't dig up on who it was about. But this happens when substantial battery is a felony in Wisconsin and is charged when somebody sustains a substantial bodily harm because of your actions. Substantial bodily harm is defined in the law as a bodily injury that requires stitches or staples or other adhesive, a fracture or breaking a bone, a concussion, a broken nose or tooth, a burn, or any loss of sight, hearing, or consciousness. And so that really appears to be his first felony that he acquired. And a few days before he drives through a crowd of people, he was charged by Milwaukee courts for resisting an officer, felony bail jumping, second-degree recklessly endangering safety with domestic abuse assessments, disorderly conduct, and battery. So
But you know what his battery was? If we're talking about the same thing, he ran over a woman at a gas station You know
Oh,
who she
Jesus.
was?
I didn't see that. What's that about?
Baby mama of one of his children.
Well, in my deep research on this guy, I found his baby mama commenting on his mixtapes on DatPiff. And so adapting E. Patterson 734 says, my baby daddy go harder than a lot of you. Word I can't say, 100, 100 emoji. So I'll put that up in the corner for you all to see.
Word you can't say. My baby daddy.
Yeah.
Talking about himself?
No, this is the baby mama.
Oh, the baby mama. Okay.
So the baby mama is saying this, Math Boy Fly, Daryl Brooks. It was a comment on one
I
of his
didn't know
mixtapes.
his handle was Matt Boy Fly.
Math Boy Fly, or sometimes Fly. That's his rapper persona.
I don't have a handle like that. I wonder how many baby mamas he has.
Well, he has one that apparently got him a pedophile charge at some point in time. I couldn't find that in his criminal record, but I found a video of him talking about being a pedophile. And so he explains the situation. And so he was pimping her out. So there might be some sort of sex trafficking charge that he has on his record as well.
And now I'm a pedophile. Let me explain that. 10 years ago, 2006, I caught a case with my oldest daughter's mama. Yes, my baby mama. She's from Oakland. I was busting moves in Nevada. I meet the bitch. She says she want to get down, so I'm pimping on the bitch. I'll take her to Nevada. You know what I'm saying? I get cracked. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the bitch was 16 at the time. She gave a statement to the police and told them, yeah, she was hoeing, that I was pimping, and that she was 16, and that I didn't know that.
So to be honest with you, 1999 to 2021, I see a bunch of various crimes. This guy is essentially a career criminal and has a disregard for human life and a system of ethics that I don't endorse whatsoever.
Well, that gets us to the next subject, Stu, is the guy was let out on $1,000 bail with this extensive criminal record. And he was let out on bail from the district attorney, whose name is John Chisholm. And guess who funded his candidacy for district attorney?
I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but George Soros?
You got it, buddy.
Yeah.
Soros, all these really, really left-wing prosecutors like Ches Bowden, and by the way, I wrote an article on him in Real Clear Markets, October 27th. They are radical leftists. They don't believe in locking anybody up. It's all for social justice. But yet these people go back on the street and they kill people.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like, we know, those of us who live by logic and empirical evidence know through, what has worked before, you lock the bad guys up and then they can't commit any more crimes, and crime goes way down. And who does that help? The very people that the social justice folks say need help. It's the poor, the downtrodden, and Black people. You let these murderers loose and they just create havoc on these neighborhoods.
And so the upsetting thing is he gets let out, and what the police chief is saying is that he was fleeing from the police when he drives through the crowd, and he had gone back to his abode and gotten into another domestic dispute. So obviously there are relationship problems. I have no idea what the woman's thoughts are on this. Did she call the police saying, you're not supposed to be here now? Did he barge in and say, well, you need to get out? But something obviously went wrong. And then the police are en route to come get him again. And then he drives off like a maniac and has a complete disregard for human life.
Well, let's not forget his political affiliations too, Stu. He has made these tapes in which he denounces white people. He denounces President Trump. He's a virulent racist. I mean, media is not going to tell you that, but it's right out there. And when he's going through that crowd, that is intentional. He's trying to knock people over and kill them.
Well, his family has come to his defense, and so
George Floyd's family came to his defense too.
and so the family is quoted as saying it was an accident. He's innocent, just like Kyle Rittenhouse. So his family is playing that card right off the bat, and this whole thing is just so upsetting. You know, it's early in the week, and I've supplied a lot of footage from war-torn places for people to actually see some of the devastation and some of the sad things going on in the world. And I haven't been able to watch this footage yet. It's Thanksgiving week. I don't want to be focusing on this yet. It's important for us to actually dive deep into what's going on, because websites like YouTube, and I'll post this. So his YouTube account was scrubbed by YouTube. It wasn't his family or friends doing damage control. YouTube stepped in and they terminated his account for violating YouTube's community guidelines. So
well, maybe it was political in that they didn't want everyone to see. They want to make him a victim, and they didn't want everyone to see what a evil thug he is, and they didn't want to see his political opinions. So they step in and they eradicate history.
I always aim to be always congruent with my thoughts. So I do believe he is innocent until proven guilty. However, this is the oddity of being in the modern world, where you can see the complete play-by-play of all these things that we focus on in the media, where you can see the complete play-by-play of Kyle Rittenhouse. You can see the complete play-by-play of him driving through the crowd, and you can see multiple angles and all these different perspectives, and it just gets you into this weird area where it's like you're almost over socialized on all the aspects of crimes and the news and reality.
Let's just take George Floyd. Right or wrong, I mean, he was a bad guy. Cops were put into a difficult position, whether they were right or wrong. Okay, that's one case of police brutality. In the meantime, 8,000 Black people are killed a year by Black people. But you know what? They're not on social media. So nobody sees it and nobody is sensationalized by it.
You had this massive shootout in Chicago, and so the police are effectively powerless to do anything with so many people shooting guns. And they just decide, oh, we're not going to do anything about this. This is just mutual combat. Do you want mutual combat in the streets of every American city?
But if the media played that over and over and over, like they play some other things where they're where they have an agenda, then everybody in the world would be upset about Black on Black crime, and maybe something would be done, but they don't do that. And certain things like whenever there's a mass shooting, you hear about that and you hear about that, and it's terrible. But you know what, Stu? There were mass shootings in the 1900s. There were a lot of them, but they weren't on TV. So nobody knows about it and nobody is radicalized by it. But there's a certain element of the population, probably 40 or 50%, that is easily sensationalized by videos, by images. I'm the exact opposite in that I run off of facts and logic. When I see a video that is terrible, I go, well, okay, well, I know what the percentages are of something like that. Bad things happen every day. And, I throw that in the old gray matter filter and I go, well, this happens all the time. This is nothing unusual. Anyway, we'll see, Stu. Well, there's a lot more that will come out about this. But I do want to say something, Stu, about some of the response, and you knew this was going to happen. By the way, hats off to the dancing grannies. I don't know if you saw them, but I saw a video on them today, and I like them. they got spunk. A guy who ran for Congress, a Democrat in this congressional district, immediately tweeted that this was, he made a snarky remark about, hey, this guy did this in self-defense. Not very tasteful.
Gotcha.
Then there is this lady, she's a Democrat in Illinois, whose name, she said this was karma. Her name is Lemensky. And she is the social media director for the Democratic Party in DuPage County. She said the blood of Kyle Rittenhouse's victims is on the hands of Wisconsin citizens, even the children.
That's so gross. I mean,
Then she said, I'm sad anyone dies. I just believe in karma. And this came about quick on the citizens of Wisconsin. So it's okay. She's excused. You can see where the left's going to go on this. We're going to excuse this.
well, the disgusting thing about that is that there's just look at the metaphysics of that. So you have the sins of the father are the sins of the children. And then you have this instant karma aspect. And then it's the juxtaposition of, it's all of Wisconsin, not just Kenosha. And so the whole metaphysics of it is just the dehumanizing aspect you see when these lefty regimes just find people disposable. It's the same metaphysics to me.
Well, Stalin and Lenin and Hitler and totalitarians like that felt people were disposable too, because they didn't look at people as creations of God and individuals.
What's that Pol Pot quote? I'd rather accidentally kill a friend than spare an enemy. Same mentality to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, Stalin threw hundreds of thousands and millions at the German lines. He didn't care. They were tools of the state. This lady also said, "You reap what you sow." It's sad people died, but when you open the door to vigilante justice, everyone seems threatening. So Kyle, again, facts don't matter. By now, everybody should know Kyle Rittenhouse was not a vigilante. He was attacked. He protected himself, and he had every right. You know, I even read conservative columnists saying, "Well, he shouldn't have been there. It was not a good decision for him to be there." Why not? If they have the right to be there, destroying things, why doesn't someone else have the right to be there peacefully?
And you have had some lefty people do a 180 on this. They finally watched the footage and then they changed their minds. I mean, it's just the lack of intellectual curiosity to kind of just figure out what is going on and, you know, have a nuanced opinion. I mean, everyone will jump on an opinion that they hear regurgitated from the media, but they'll never develop a nuanced opinion on this.
It's the lack of
topic.
what we call Aristotelian logic, Stu. People cannot piece together cause and effect and logic. It's all emotion and anger driven. Facts don't mean anything to these folks. Then this lady, after she was called out a little bit on social media, said, "Nobody cared about me my whole life. Aw, Mom used to leave me for hours at a time, and I've put out music for 20 years. Nobody gave a shit." Bad language. Why do people all of a sudden care about a stupid remark? I can't believe my 15 minutes of fame is for this shit. Well, your stupid remark was evil, and you are in a position of responsibility. It's what we call, little millennial chick, adulthood. All right, Stu, going on to other difficult topics to talk about, because this is something that the media tries to gaslight you about, but it's interesting. There was a lady named Rosalind Boylan who was killed on January the 6th. Nobody talks about this. But what has come to light that in the tunnel underneath the Capitol from about 3 to 4 p.m., after a lot of this stuff happened, the police were beating the hell out of people. And these people voluntarily just walked in here and they just got clubbed. This lady got clubbed to death. And it's on film.
Jesus.
And the Capitol Police won't release the film. They haven't released the film. And somehow Louis Gohmert or somebody got the film, and it's pretty shocking. But anyway, now the government will not release the autopsy report that her family has requested. So, Stu, it all goes down to this. The reason people were there on January the 6th was to stop the steal. Now, I read every day about the fraud that happened. And not only is there overwhelming evidence of voter fraud in 8 states, which would have turned those 8 states into the Trump column, nobody even disputes it. But they gaslight you about it, that if you talk about it, you're a conspiracy theorist and you are an insurrectionist and you are a threat. And what the government has done with some of the January 6th protesters, right or wrong, their conduct, but they have thrown them in the DC jail without bond, truly, in some instances, without habeas corpus, not being charged. And much of what they may have done could at most be a misdemeanor. So Tucker Carlson has produced a 3-part series on January 6th. And I wasn't going to watch it because, Stu, I already know everything. I'm sure everything he's got in that documentary, I probably know already because guys like you and me keep up with this stuff. But 2 guys who were Fox contributors, Jonah Goldberg and Stephen Hayes, they wanted a big publicity splash, and they said they are no longer going to be contributors to Fox News because of the documentary that Tucker Carlson put together called Patriot Purge. But they don't, like the left always, these guys are what you would call never Trumpers. So they, lambast Tucker Carlson for being a conspiracy theorist, but they don't counter with any facts. To me, this is just their way to get in the news and to ingratiate themselves with a certain segment of the Washington elite. And that's why they did what they did. But because of this, Stu, I am now going to watch it. Anyway, Stu, it's what I got.
I guess the last thing that I have is when I was kind of going through Mr. Brooks's social media, I saw that he really hated Kanye West. Kanye West, I think, gets a bad rap. I think he cares. I think he thinks differently. I don't get mad at people for thinking differently, even if I think they're wildly eccentric. And so he had a meme that was the Trump hat that said, "Wire Kanye's mouth shut again," in reference to when Kanye broke his jaw in a car accident that was really bad. And Kanye is a very vocal person, and he has kind of denounced some of the previous rap music that he made in his life that was negative towards women, kind of more about the crime side of things. And Kanye truly feels that he was doing the devil's work with that music.
I don't even need anything. I'm praying that people can see that Jesus won the victory. When I was making raps in service to the devil, talking about you a hoe, I love it, all this, I was in debt. Now that I'm in service to Christ, God is showing off. He's showing off in my life. He's showing off in my family.
I know that Kanye had a Christian conversion. Is he still on that path?
Yeah, he does Sunday service, and his most recent rap album has a lot of Christian imagery in it. And Kanye even made a reference to the fact that, you know, we can all be bad people that can become good people. And he used Moses as an example of someone who had done something wrong and then was able to accept the word of God and share the word of God. And
Only fear God, as I said, and I'm not always obedient. You know, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on out here. You know what I'm saying? I fall short. They say Moses killed the man and all the, you know, before God called on him.
Well,
But I-
think of Paul on the road to Damascus. Paul
Yeah.
was a persecutor, and so yeah, I mean, I've known lots of folks who have had immediate, I would call them metaphysical conversions to Christianity, where a lot of those stories are pretty fascinating and enlightening.
And so when I think of the culture and the sense of what Black culture seems to focus on a lot, and when I look at the music videos that Daryl Brooks produced and what he was talking about, it's a lot of negative stuff. It's not good energy. And say what you will about Kanye, but Kanye's trying to be a good person, and some of his most recent interviews I've thought had a lot of great points, and talking about things like, you know, when LeBron James wins a championship, it's not uplifting Black people. It's making the woman who owns the Cleveland Cavaliers or the family that owns the LA Lakers, making them more important, and that there really should be a league, an NBA league, that's a Black-owned league.
When LeBron wins a championship, he looks at this white lady that owns the team and says, I told you I was going to win for you. That's the part I don't like. That's the part, because if you king, then let's be kings. That's the part. We starting up our own league. And I'm here battling for us, for our freedom, to be able to build our communities and not be in a position where we have to kill half of ourselves every year.
But it's just one of those things where this guy literally said in a song, drugs, guns, murder, that's all we know.
Hey, drugs, guns, murder, that's all we know.
And, you know, you keep putting out that energy of murder, I'm going to shoot people, I'm going to do this, you know, 4 plates and my youngest do it, talking about your kids selling drugs.
4 plate and my youngest do it. 4 plates and my youngest do it. Whoa, nah, what it is.
You know, you put that out there, and then are you surprised when your life manifests in such a way where you end up killing a bunch of people?
Well, you glorify certain actions, and you have this type of cultural dysfunction where guys who make these rap songs and glorify criminal violence and murder and thuggery are praised. And if these social justice warriors were real and didn't just divide people for their own benefit, they would be in the communities in droves trying to fix this, because it's fixable, but it's a cultural thing and it's a religious thing. But you, as I've said before, the Black church is right there, ready to help these folks and to spread the gospel and bring them in. But it's almost as though the media and the so-called woke social justice warriors are enabling them and keeping them from going back to their traditional home, the Black church.
It's just so deeply sad that Kanye gets treated like a crazy person for saying things like, I want a Black future museum instead of a Black history museum that focuses on when we were in chains.
Black History Month. Cancel, right? Put this on Black Twitter right now. Ye says cancel Black History Month. Why? I need Black Future Month. I need Black Possibility Month. I'm tired of seeing us getting hosed down. I'm tired of talking about slavery and how we should only be so lucky to vote for a woman we ain't seen since the election. I mean, we should.
Jesus, can't go there.
And then he gets lambasted for that when what he's saying is, the culture's messed up that you want to drive a foreign car instead of buy land and build a future for you and your community. And he gets treated like he's a psychopath for that, gets made fun of as his wife is dating other men right now. And he gets treated like shit when what he's saying is, I want to build people up. I want to make my community strong, and I want to promote Christianity. I mean, it's just so deeply sad that the media is once again the enemy of the people, that he's offering an alternative path, and then he gets treated like a psycho.
Yeah, how many of these people, gangbangers, even know who Booker T. Washington was, what he did, or what he wrote? None of them. I guarantee you, none of them know. And he is a great inspiration to not only black people, white people too.
I'm at a loss for words, because this whole thing just is just such a mockery of just existence, where I've seen the censored out footage of him driving through the crowd, but then I can go online and I can look at all of his music videos and go to his YouTube channel before it got deleted and kind of hear him talk. And it's just the dystopian nature of, this person just did a major crime, and now I'm almost intimately aware of who they are because of their social media footprint. And
Just
just
a book deal out of it, probably.
And I honestly had a thought last night before his account got deleted, where it's just like, oh, wow, this is probably the most views he's ever gotten on any of his YouTube content. Is the views that he's generating from this going to pay for his lawsuit and pay for his legal fees? I mean, that's a thought I had last night. I shouldn't have to have thoughts like that. I'm serious. I mean, that's how just crazy and dystopian this world has become.
Well, I wouldn't let it get you down, Stu.
Okay, this has become a therapy session.
Yeah, I mean, the world has always been dystopian, and there have always been crazy people, and there's always been evil people, but we have managed to survive this long. And you're a bad MF, Stu. You're a strong man. You're a boxing machine. Nothing's gonna get you down.
It's just the over socialization that I should be focused on my own community, helping people that are in my life that I care about, and instead I'm spending 2 to 3 hours experiencing the values of this Mr. Brooks and going through his social media and just becoming intimate with a person who would disregard human life. And it's just kind of the Nietzsche quote of, when you gaze into the abyss gazes back.
There you go, Stu.
So yeah.
Oh, Nietzsche. Well played.
Okay. But yeah. So how about some wisdom for today?
Wisdom, Stu. Today we're going to talk very briefly about a great British philosopher, political philosopher, Thomas Hobbes. And I bring this up, Stu, because we're just seeing chaos in the world. And two small quotes from him. Government is necessary, not because man is naturally bad, but because man is by nature more individualistic than social. Curiosity is the lust of the mind. The first branch of which rule containeth the first and fundamental law of nature, which is to seek peace and follow it. Following up, he said, law is the primary instrument of a sovereign by which to serve the ends of government, which were principally peace and personal security of all its citizens. All of this goes back, Stu, to when Kenosha let these people riot and create chaos. And this is what you get. And Hobbes addressed this 400 years ago.
Right on.
First rule of government is to protect its citizens and create order.
Yeah, we're all in it together, and why would we ever want disorder to be the norm? Well, thank
All
you.
right, Stu, don't let it get you down. As Scarlett O'Hara said, tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, I'm good. It's just, I think a big part of it is just being aware of when you look into the abyss that you're absorbing that darkness. And so just being mindful of what you absorb.
I can speak to that, Stu. Yes, indeed. In Romans, the Apostle Paul said you have to put on the body of Christ. And what he means by that is you have to have a shield against the darkness of the world. So there.
True that.
All right, Stu, go get him.
Later.
Bye.
Young Stuart Mill on his own free will, on half one shine, he was particularly ill. Later they say, could sing it away. Half bread whiskey every day. Aristotle was a bagger for the bottle. Hobbes was fond of his dram. And Granny Descartes was a drunken fart. I drink, therefore I am.